just getting to know the environment.
What's wrong with you? Like, I mean, seriously, if I was in your shoes, I'd be home right now relaxing. I can't believe you're here. Adrian, what happened to him? Why does he want to be here so much?
You know what? We've gotten such great feedback on Alberto. By the way, our side of the building gets a lot of feedback from all our sports guys. Sal Montes, Angel Munoz, Zay Galindo. All our guys do great things. And I'm not listing everybody here, but all of our guys do great things. Alberto was hand-selected to join the KLAQ morning show here in the temporary period to help out on the production side, and the fact that he keeps staying with us, it feels like we haven't lost him yet, because everybody else, it feels like we lose to bigger and better things.
I don't know if he's temporary over there. He's still there.
Yeah, like, you're exactly right on that.
He hasn't left. So, Alberto just has
there
this
for a reason.
He has this habit of like showing up places and then you can't get rid of him. Like, he doesn't leave. So maybe that's what's happening right now on Buzz's show. He came in there just to help a little bit, and all of a sudden now, he's still around. It's amazing.
Buzz is the kind of guy he's like, hey, where's Alberto? Like, I thought he was just part of the show. Like, Buzz is that kind of guy who's just ready to have Alberto jumped in. Maybe there was already a jumping in process throughout this time or stuff like that. But yeah, I like it. I like the fact that Angel Munoz, who did a great job on the Kiss FM morning show and is doing a great job on Kiss FM, and Alberto Urreta, they're both products of 600 ESPN El Paso.
Listen, I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,001. Take our station and the people that work with us. I will put it up against anybody in town. So many of the people that have been in this building with us in our station have gone on to do some great things. I am super excited about that. We got one here, too, who's actually an intern with us. I guarantee you, in the next few years, something special is going to happen to Cade McConnell. Whether it's in professional football, broadcasting, something big is going to happen, and we'll talk about him as one of those great examples of, hey, he got to spend and hang out with us for some time, for a couple months, and look what's happened.
We never had an intern throw for over 1,000 yards in a season.
We've never had an intern throw for 1 yard in a season. Let's be honest. We've never even had an intern attempt to pass in a season until this. This is groundbreaking stuff we're talking about right now.
I don't even think we've ever had an athletic intern. No knock to all our interns.
No, we haven't.
I'm included in that conversation.
I mean, Alberto might be the only one. He at least played high school baseball.
Yeah, but he's not an intern either. So he was just
He never started as an intern, did he?
Right.
He was just a hire.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, his resume stood out.
Okay.
That's how it happened.
Well, Cade's back with us again right now, taking a break during actually, there's no break. He's still in UTEP spring ball. In fact, he's got a little less than 2 weeks to go, but luckily for us, he gets to spend Tuesdays and Thursdays with us on the program. Welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Tuesdays and Thursdays during this time right here are some of my favorites of the entire week. So I'm always happy to be back. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy to be here.
Is it nice that with all the stuff you're doing right now with football, school, is this almost like a nice break for you where you get to escape for a couple of hours and just enjoy it, have fun, and then after that, then you'll go back to the grind?
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's so much that goes on during my week right now. It would be almost, unbelievable, and people probably wouldn't even, understand the type of schedule that all of us football players are going through right now between, work, meetings, film, trying to get meals in, coming back to practice, all those different kinds of things. But coming here and just being able, I enjoy talking with you guys. I think it's awesome. I have so much fun with it. I love talking about sports, and I get to come on here and just kind of kick back and relax with you guys and have a good time on the show. It's one of the best parts of the week for sure.
Well, we're enjoying it too, and it's great to have you back. In fact, I think the weather's going to start heating up. It's a little chilly today, but I was looking at the forecast. It's going to be in the 80s later this week, and eventually I think we're going to start to see what will probably be another pretty hot summer. I hope we don't get 45-plus days of 100-plus weather, but it's coming. It'll be here before you know it.
Yes, it'll be hot, and then we'll start thinking about all the cold days, but right now it feels pretty good, and I'm excited about the hot weather. Country country music is starting to just feel real good in my truck speakers with the windows down right now, and that's my kind of vibe, right? Being from California with the windows down on the beach, when it starts heating up here, I'm doing the same thing in El Paso.
Are you, is country music your go-to when you need something to play and just, enjoy and jam out to?
I would say that country is my number one favorite genre, but I am a very eclectic. I have a very eclectic taste when it comes to music. I really don't dislike any type of music. I'll put on anything and enjoy it and listen to it. But there's something about country music in the summer when the weather starts to heat up in the car and you're rolling the windows down. It's too good. It's too good.
Who's your go-to country artist? If you had to have one person to listen to, who is it?
Wow, that's tough. It definitely changes over time. Like for a long time, a while ago, it was Florida Georgia Line. That was one of the people that got me started on country. But now like Luke Combs and Morgan Wallen, they're the some of the two hottest. Tyler Childers, love those guys.
Okay, are you a big fan of Jelly Roll?
I'm not. I haven't become a big enough fan of Jelly Roll. I need to listen to more. But from what I've heard, yeah, I do like his stuff.
Okay, that's okay. Good stuff. Hey, that's how we started things off today. We talk a little country music with Cade and get us going. UConn. What a performance last night. A dominant exclamation mark on what has been a terrific season. They've only lost 3 times during the year. I think they lost to Creighton once, Seton Hall once, and in Kansas. But last night, despite a close first half, they came out and just absolutely put it to Zach Edey, Purdue, who couldn't handle the guards, and El Paso's Tristan Newton, named Final Four MVP in that convincing win.
Yeah, Tristan Newton, very impressive, clearly. But I think, if you had to put a button on it and sew up UConn's season, the question was, are they going to be the best team in the nation? And then they came out in the tournament and time again proved that throughout the tournament and then finished it off in the final game with that answer and being a unanimous yes.
It was wild and impressive more than anything else. I mean, I thought the way Purdue was hanging around in that first half and giving UConn some trouble that it could have been a little closer, but this is a team that very rarely was challenged during the regular season, not at all really in the NCAA tournament, and just so impressed with how easy they made it look when they would pull away from their opponents, including last night.
Yeah, you know what it reminded me a lot of, and you talked about it right there with not being challenged a lot. I feel like I related that to Alabama football. I feel like, throughout Alabama seasons, oftentimes we say that they're not challenged as much, and then maybe towards the end of their season, they start getting some tougher games, and are they going to be able to prove themselves in the college football playoff? That I felt a lot like that about UConn, and I think they handled it the same exact way, and they were able to kind of steamroll their way through that second half.
They were. Adrian, when you watched the game last night, what impressed you the most about the Huskies and just how they were able to dominate Purdue in the second half?
Yeah, I mean, for first off, the first half, the opening half, I was just impressed that it was that big center duo, or battle, I should say, Zach Edey versus Donovan Clingan. I thought Clingan hung in there pretty well, and then there was one point where he subbed out, and he looked absolutely gassed. I was like, wait a second, can Purdue play the 40 minutes of the Zach Edey show and just feed him constantly to try to win this game? But no, I mean, they started to feed him, and then he would get double teamed out of the halftime break. I felt like UConn came up with the best adjustment to that Purdue offense, and they said, all right, Zach Edey, you beat us down low, but we're not going to make it easy for you, and everybody around Zach Edey, we're going to challenge and contest every three-point attempt.
That's exactly what they did. They made the guards work, and Purdue's guards couldn't handle Newton and company on the other end for UConn. UConn's guards wore down Purdue in a big way in that second half, really in the first 5 or 10 minutes when they really built that lead up.
Yeah, and you can credit the pace of play by UConn specifically. It felt like every miss that Purdue would have, UConn was running on the other side of the court, ready to score on the other end. So it was just really impressive, the urgency that the Huskies played with yesterday and just the pace.
I'm with you on that one. Alberto, what'd you notice when you had a chance to watch the game? Did you watch the game? You're working mornings right now on the Q. Since that game started at 7:20 and ended close to 10 o'clock, were you already asleep before that game ended?
No, I went to bed right as it wrapped up. I wanted to see who was going to be the national champion, and it was a great It was really fun watching Tristan Newton do what he did, and I don't think either one of you guys have mentioned it, but he also went perfect from the free throw. In a huge game like this, to go 6 of 6 from the charity stripe, that to me is huge. A lot of guys, their hands get sweaty, the lights shine too bright. But no, I think to see Tristan Newton have a phenomenal performance like that, lead his team, and now get himself ready for the draft, I'm really excited for him. And the Miners really missed out.
They did. I was on social last night. I saw a great tweet from some guy, Chris. I quote tweeted it and kind of added to it, and talked about the fact that all the accomplishments Tristan Newton had, it still blows my mind that UTEP did not offer him a scholarship out of high school. Look, say what you want about Rodney Terry. He brought in incredible athletes, Bryson Williams, Sule Boom, Jamal Bieniemy. We know the list. The list was endless, right? This was a miss. He can talk all he wants about how he didn't play defense out of high school and felt he wasn't better than Nigel Hawkins or Jordan Lathan or anybody else they brought in at the guard spot that year. This was a colossal miss. People ask me, would he choose East Carolina over UTEP if UTEP offered him? The answer is no. Not if you'd have an opportunity to play right away and star with and play alongside some of those guys. Could you imagine Tristan Newton with a Sule Boom, with a Bryson Williams, even working alongside Jamal Bieniemy in the backcourt, I think would have been pretty exciting to watch. We'll never know the answer to that because he was never a minor, but clearly, this was a big-time overlook that still will be haunting UTEP fans for quite a while and led us to an alternate universe, an alternate reality that we launched on the website earlier today.
That's right, Steve. It's talking about the all-time what-ifs in El Paso sports history. And this one will go down in that conversation because we can clearly say this. Tristan Newton, one of the all-time best college athletes to come out of El Paso, just simply put, a back-to-back national champion and was the player of the game for both of those times as far as the leading scorer. So, I mean, that's impressive in itself. That led us to open up the can of worms. What if scenarios? What if Tristan Newton actually stayed in El Paso and played for his hometown team? His cousin, Aaron Jones, was basically immortalized in the record book. He owns the all-time rushing leading record at UTEP. What if Tristan Newton was an all-time record holder for a historic basketball team like UTEP basketball? And what if he helped UTEP get back to the NCAA tournament, something they're searching for the first time since 2010?
And you don't think Aaron Jones would have wanted to see his cousin go and attend the same school and star the way he did along with his twin brother Alvin? Please. I mean, it's a great storyline. So yes, we are playing the what if game on 600 ESPN El Paso. In fact, consider this like Marvel Comics What If, when they're Marvel Universe and their alternate reality, and they played the What If story years ago. It's kind of like our take on El Paso sports. It's not just UTEP, it's El Paso sports in general. In fact, we've been brainstorming today, and what we want to do is put a new what if up every week and give El Pasoans an idea to think about these what ifs on a regular basis and almost build that alternate reality of what if something didn't happen that ended up happening. How would the landscape, the fabric, so to speak, Cade, of El Paso sports history be altered forever had something like this happened?
It's exciting, but you're playing a dangerous game, Steve. I know that these El Paso fans get riled up and they're passionate, and living in an alternate reality might be dangerous for this community, let me tell you.
It could be. It really could be. And by the way, there's good and bad with this because there's not necessarily every what if is going to be a good what if. There could also be bad what-ifs that come around. Things that maybe, led to great moments that what if those moments don't happen? Then what? So that's kind of the fun part about the what-ifs. As we were brainstorming this idea and we were coming up with all of these different scenarios, we have so many good storylines that we can write about on this particular series. We're jacked up. This is going to be for us kind of like COVID. During COVID, we re-racked every Don Haskins show from 2006 to 2008. We replayed them on the air, and we spent almost a year and a half of reliving all episodes that we hadn't heard in 15 years, and it was a lot of fun. And really, for our listeners, it was great. Well, we're looking at this along the same lines because what we want to do is put something out there that can get people talking, make them think, and what it's going to do is ultimately look at El Paso sports history and the fabric of what shaped this community for so many years, and then we'll look at specific storylines and how, with one slight detail, changing what could have happened with how could it have altered the universe?
It's really exciting, and it's very different. I think that it's definitely going to have people talking. I know that I've already been talking about it with you guys for a little bit, and I'm already thinking. But the other thing it's going to do is it gives us a chance to look back and take a look into history for a second, and you can kind of learn some stuff too. As you go back and look at some of the what-ifs and maybe good or bad, I mean, maybe for things that are coming up in the future and things that are in the present right now, you kind of get to take a look and compare and be like, okay, this is what's happened in the past. Maybe we can correct ourselves, or maybe we can keep it in the right direction.
Well, we want good ideas. We want suggestions. We want things like that to be had. So, Adrian, what's the best way to do it? Phones, Twitter and X, app, all the above, right?
All the above. We have submission points on the website right now. There's obviously the app where you can just message us in real time. We can read your what-if scenarios. Twitter's where we're at. We're always at there. Twitter and X, of course. But, I mean, even this story's going to go up on Facebook. We want to get some submissions there. The idea is more ideas, more engagement, more what-if scenarios in this situation.
Perfect. 505-6009. That's our telephone number to get things started. Cade's here with us as well. We'll get an update on how things are going with UTEP and do all that between now and 7 o'clock. First, though, let's head over to Charlie 1 and get our first traffic update of the afternoon. Charlie, how we doing? Studio at 5:15. Billy is going to be performing tomorrow at the State Line for their live music series. Friend of the show. And for the first time in all of his appearances, Billy's bringing a keyboard. He's going to play a little bit for us. And I'm excited about that because I consider Billy to be one of the most talented musicians ever to come out of the city of El Paso.
Maybe talented people, period, right? Because he just wears so many different hats.
Right.
No pun intended, because he always wears hats when he comes in and joins us.
But he acts, he directs.
Yes.
He's got movies he's done. He's got a little bit of everything.
I'm not trying to spoil anything, but in the future, you might join us to talk about some new courses that are coming up that are actually really relevant to us at a radio station.
Really?
In the future, yes. Maybe we can get a little sneak peek on that, too.
I like the fact that you have breaking news.
Yes.
Good for you. A little inside information. Look at that.
That's right. Shout out EPCC.
There you go. That's good. So, yeah, we'll talk to Billy about that when he comes in and joins us on the program next hour. In the meantime, we've got Cade with us right now. We're talking UConn, their win, how easy they made it look, which, talk about it. It was pretty impressive when everything is said and done. Meanwhile, UConn now will, they're going to lose some players off this team, especially Newton, who's named Final Four MVP. You just wonder. I mean, they haven't seen back-to-back national championship victories since Florida did it back in 06-07 with Billy Donovan. Before that, it was Duke in 91-92 with Coach K. And before that, it was UCLA with John Wooden in that great dynasty that really was the 60s and 70s. And the only team that broke up that dynasty was Texas Western in 66. So you think about how rare the feat is to win back-to-back titles. UConn was able to do it. And you almost feel that right now, Danny Hurley has this blueprint, and it's worked. It worked when they grabbed, Newton out of the portal and brought him on board, and their recruiting's been terrific. They've got a style that's been very successful, and I kind of wonder if we're going to continue to see UConn at the top of college basketball over the next few years.
Yeah, I think we will, even if they lose some of their top guys like Spencer, like Castle, like even Klingon, if they lose those guys. Because what you really saw was the same nucleus that won the national championship last year. It wasn't really the same nucleus this year coming around. It was Sonogo last year. Yeah, they had Klingon, but he wasn't necessarily the guy. Tristan Newton was a facilitator facilitator, was the quarterback of their offense. But they also had Jordan Hawkins last year. Let's not forget, he got drafted. He's playing in the NBA right now. So now with this UConn team, they're going to lose players, but I believe in the nucleus, and I believe in guys like Kamani Young, who's really recruiting some of the top-level talent that we're seeing right here go to UConn.
So Kamani played at UTEP in the mid-'90s. In those days, he was known as Kamani Jones-Young. I believe he's part of the 1,000-point scoring club for UTEP during his time. Very accomplished player, very popular player, fan favorite for the Miners. If I'm not mistaken, he wore number 13 for UTEP. But you think about Kamani, I'm wondering if he's going to get a head coaching job here this next season. You almost feel like even though, he spent this tournament run and he didn't explore offers, and that's part of the downside, I guess, to having a team that can win a national championship. You're so all in, you're not going to leave to really pursue other coaching opportunities if they come around because you want to stay the course with the team you're on. He's a guy that's got to be in demand because he's one of the hottest assistant coaches, if not the hottest assistant coach right now in the country.
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of rise to fame with hot assistant coaches like that, and what you want to see is the people that they're under, belief in them, and then you want to see them be able to grab the reins and create a culture that can be long-standing and lasting for a program. That's what you really want to see. That's when you have the guys like Lincoln Riley who have come up, and then people under Lincoln Riley or people under Saban, and you see the growth that has gone out, in college football. And I talk college football because that's where my coaching, knowledge comes from. But that's exactly what you want to see, is someone that can take a seed and then have it grow and become farther. With him being one of the hottest assistant coaches right now, I wouldn't be surprised if he lands something really big.
I wouldn't be either. The only downside is there's just not a lot of those jobs left right now. I feel like most of the good D1 jobs have been filled, at least at this point. So you kind of wonder if something comes up, would he take a mid-major, a group of 5, or do you hold out and still hope that maybe this time next year you have a chance to get that perfect fit?
It's tough, and that comes down to a lot of coaches' philosophy across all sports. Where do you take the coaching job now as the head coaching spot at a mid-tier school and then try to blossom that into somewhere else? Are you okay with jumping ship after only being there for a few hot years and then leaving that school and going on, or do you want to kind of wait for the right situation and be able to stay there and then be able to plant that seed and grow for a long time? It's a tough decision, but it comes down to a lot of different factors. It comes down to family for a coach, location, where you live. I mean, there's so many different factors that go into that.
So I'm looking right now at the current list of open jobs in college basketball, okay? Canisius, the Golden Griffins have a job opening that hasn't been filled yet. Eastern Washington, the Eagles, Florida A&M, the Rattlers, Fresno State is still open right now. Indiana State, we know about Kentucky, although that'll be filled soon, I'm sure. And that's it. That's the whole list. That's the problem right now if you're Kamani. There's no jobs available at this point.
So I'm looking at the job after the Kentucky job is filled, right, Steve? That's the job right there. Because remember when Jerome Tang was hired, he was the longtime assistant under Scott Drew after Baylor won the national championship. Jerome Tang goes off to Kansas State, and he takes over that program, and that was post-national championship as well. Maybe in this situation, this scenario, it's not necessarily the Kentucky job, but it's the guy who's going to take the Kentucky job. If he's already a head coach somewhere else and he takes that job, maybe that position, that specific school, when that job gets opened up, Kamani is a candidate for that one.
That could be the case. And you look at those potential replacements and who they could possibly be. I'm looking at an article that came out of the Lexington Herald Leader, okay? And they were also talking about who could be in line to replace him. And then you've got Scott Drew at Baylor. And that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Because the Baylor AD is former UTEP associate AD Mac Rhodes.
Yeah.
Would Mac consider bringing Kamani Jones or Kamani Young into Baylor? That is an interesting situation. Now, I'll say this. If Kentucky goes Jay Wright, then there's no opening. because Jay Wright is currently out of college basketball working for CBS. So that would be a downside. Same thing goes for Billy Donovan, who right now is coaching the Chicago Bulls. So there's no job there to replace. Brad Stevens is the Boston Celtics president of basketball ops. His name has been mentioned. And then, again, what if Danny Hurley goes? What if Danny Hurley, although I don't think that's going to happen. I feel like Hurley likes it at UConn. I don't see him leaving no matter how much money they offer, but then it really would make sense that Kamani would get promoted to the head coaching job.
Yeah, that definitely, when you put it that way, I could see it making some sense. Buzz Williams from Texas A&M is an interesting name right there as well. You also talk about other SEC coaches, Nate Oates possibly.
Yep.
Then you really have some shifting across the SEC, so maybe Kentucky looks outside that conference, maybe into the Pac-12 or soon to be Big 12. Tommy Lloyd at Arizona,
Yep.
maybe that they could pry him away from Arizona and get him, for Kentucky.
TJ Otzelberger out of Iowa is another name that's been mentioned on the list. Todd Golden from Florida has been mentioned on the list. But again, I just don't know about some of those names as far as Kamani goes. But it will be interesting. It will be interesting to see what happens. All right, we'll get back to the phones in a moment. 33 past the hour. Let's send it over first to Adrian and get this Sports Center update. Adrian, good job. One other note before we go to Memphis Drew. Will Hernandez will be a guest coach at this year's spring football game. He recorded this video earlier today.
Hey, UTEP fans. Will Hernandez here, Cardinals offensive lineman. I want to share some exciting news with you guys. I had the privilege to play 4 years at UTEP. Now I get to come back as a coach, a guest coach. Thank you to Coach Scotty for inviting me. I'm going to be there April 20th. For the UTEP annual spring game. Make sure you guys get out there. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you'll see me out there coaching it up a little bit. Let's go. Picks up.
So there it is. A little promo from Will Hernandez talking about the spring game coming up on the 20th. Excited about that. We'll get Cade's thoughts on Will right after we say hello to Memphis Drew. He joins us 35 past the hour as Sports Talk continues. How you doing, Drew?
Doing good, man. You?
Fine, thanks. Appreciate the call.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I like that Newton had a very good game last night, and I like the introduction from El Paso, Texas, Tristan Newton.
Yeah, that never gets old, does it? It really does.
Yeah, gave a shout-out for El Paso. What do you think is in his future? You think he's an NBA player? How old is he? About 23, 24?
I don't think he's 24.
What do you think?
Is he 23, Adrian?
I think he's 23. I'll double check.
Yeah, I think 23 might be the age, which, remember, in the NBA, the hardest part when it comes to the draft, we saw this with Bryson Williams as well when he had that great year at Texas Tech and didn't get drafted. I haven't seen a lot of mocks yet list Tristan, but maybe what he's done this time around and being Final Four MVP could get him into second-round consideration talk, which would be fun.
Yeah, he should probably get a look from somebody. And the two big guys, Edie and Klingon, which one do you think is a better NBA prospect? I think Edie, he can get caught up in pick and roll. You know, he's a little slow, but offensively, yeah, he can get some rebounds and score. But what do you think? Where do you think he should be seated as an NBA draft choice?
Well, let's put it this way, okay? When you look at Zach Edey right now in mock drafts, he's another one that you kind of wonder, will he end up going in the first round or the second round? Because, Adrian, we were talking about this a lot. Zach Edey is considered right now to be a second-round pick, although I did see one mock have him 13th overall. ESPN.com had him 13th to Portland about a week ago when their mock came out.
Yeah, let me just say this. The 2024 draft is very polarizing. Number one, there are a lot of international players and prospects that draft gurus are in love with right now that we still don't know a lot about. Number two, this is the final year of G League Ignite. So you have a couple G League players who will be in the lottery as well, or at least expected to be in the lottery. So number number 3, this is where I'm getting at, the older players like Zach Edey, Tristan Newton, those guys that we saw shine at the biggest stages of them all here for the NCAA tournament, those are the guys who are getting overlooked. And if I'm a team who's contending, I don't care what team I'm even if I'm the Denver Nuggets, who has the best big man in all the NBA in the world, best player in the world in Jokic, I still love Zach Edey on my team to run with my second unit. I could see him being a forcible big man down low. He's not going to space the floor. He's going to have some spacing issues. He's going to have some conditioning issues, and some his size could work against him at times. But all this stuff today that's saying that he's going to be working at McDonald's in 3 years, come on, man. Have some respect for one of the best players in all of college basketball right here.
Yeah. Hey, I got one for Cade, and I got one for you, Steve.
Sounds good.
Okay. I'll ask Cade, what does he think of the UFL?
Oh, I think it's amazing. Here's my take on the UFL. As a football fan and somebody who loves football in all facets, whether it's flag football from 5th graders, whether it's peewee football and tackle, or junior college, Division I, professional, it doesn't matter. I love football, and for every other major league in the entire world for sports, there's these minor leagues that are able to feed off underneath them, and football hasn't had that for so long. And so we've all been waiting for a league like the UFL to have the right backing, to have the right fan base, to prosper and be a good feeder league for the NFL, and for guys to have a shot that maybe didn't get it right away, to test rules out at a minor league area. I think that there's only positive things coming from it, and as long as the level of football can stay high and the fan bases can stay engaged, I think it's a great thing.
And Steve, here's one that El Paso might have missed out on also, was Kenny Thomas. Tell us the story of what happened to him. You know, he was El Paso. He was a phenomenal player here in El Paso.
He was.
He went to the Lobos.
Well, he moved his junior year in high school to Albuquerque. And many people thought that there could have been some financial ramifications with that move, even though that thing happened 25 years or so before the start of the portal and the NIL world. So that was kind of an interesting storyline, too, because you're right. In El Paso, getting a lot of praise and accolades, but then all of a sudden, his family moves out to Albuquerque and he becomes a member of the New Mexico Lobos, which again still makes you wonder, was there more to that story than just meets the eye?
All right then, Steve. Great program.
One of these days, thank you. Maybe one of these days we can get Kenny Thomas on the show and he'll tell us if there was more to that than meets the eye.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. I mean, there's a lot of excellent ones, Steve. I'm just curious about all the other ones we're going to get from the listeners and people, suggestion-wise, because we're going to get some really, really good ones.
Listen to this. This is really interesting. Sean Devaney has been writing forever, and he wrote. He's writing for Heavy.com. Here's what he wrote from an East GM about Tristan Newton. Here was the quote. He does not wow you with athleticism or with crazy scoring ability or with shooting. But if you watch Newton enough, you can't help but think he could help us win. That's his niche. It's hard to convince a team to take a guy like that who does a lot of the little things but does not have the one big thing he is great at.
I love that evaluation right there. I think that, and I think that's more of a compliment to him than it is a diss to him in how he's not evaluated highly by a lot of people across the NBA. I think the perfect play and the perfect example of that last night was that crazy drive to the basket that he had against Zach Edey, and he's going up against a 7'4" big, and somehow gets a layup to fall in a crucial moment of this game. So I think that play in itself just tells you he's going to find a way to score, and he's going to find a way to win.
I love this last quote, too, from this East GM. A lot of teams will avoid players like that, like the plague. But Ellis and Jaquez, those guys and their success, that is sticking with other front offices. You're seeing it in Sacramento, and you're seeing it in Miami. Sometimes the answer is just take the available guy who can help you now. And for some reason, teams are always surprised when that works.
Yeah, and it's like, come on, if you're the Lakers, you had Jaime Jaquez in your own backyard.
Yep.
Just draft him. I get it. He's 22, 23 years old. He's an older guy out of college basketball, but he's more polished. He can help you today. The guys that you're drafting are going to help you tomorrow. And that's why the Miami Heat is reaping the benefits of having an older, experienced guy like Jaime Jaquez on their team.
Keon Ellis is the other one with the Sacramento Kings. Played at Alabama, drafted, not even, I don't even know if he was even drafted, but you know what? Went to Sacramento, and he's having a chance to contribute.
Yeah, and there's there's a lot of good examples across the league. Point is, don't just give up on a player because of his age. Don't just give up on a player if you're in the NBA because a player has stayed 4 or 5 years in college basketball. Maybe that means they refined their skills and now they're better because of it. Tristan Newton tested the NBA draft waters last year. He got scouted, he got evaluations, and he got better. That's just the bottom line in college basketball.
You want to talk a little bit about not having maybe the type of skills that some people just drool over, but still being able to succeed at the college game and perhaps now as a pro?
Absolutely. I mean, that speaks to a lot of my career that I've heard for a very long time. And it speaks to, you think that walk-on type of mentality where sometimes, there isn't an attribute or there isn't an accolade that people wrap around your neck and adore. But guys who find a way to win, guys who find a way to help their team out and seem to when you have the people asking the question, man, how does that guy get it done every single time? Because it seems like time and time again, no matter what happens, they find a way to win. Those are the type of guys on your roster that you want. Those are the type of guys that elevate people around you. Yep. And those are the type of guys you want to win championships with.
505-6009, 4s across the board. We'll come back with more in a moment. Sports Talk continues, 600 ESPN El Paso. Yeah.
Doing great. How you guys doing?
Doing fine, thanks, King. Good to hear from you. It's been a while.
Yeah, I know, man, but I'm back. Hopefully for a while I'll be back.
Good to hear. What do you want to talk about today?
I know you guys were talking college basketball real quick. Shout out Tristan Newton, first of all. I know he put El Paso on the map. Personally, I think he's a G League player right now. I'm not trying to knock him, but I think he's a G League. But you're talking about the draft, and you're talking about this. What about another person? I think that's kind of like a hot name that's been floating around. People are talking about just because of the name. Bronny James. I know he declared for the draft, and he entered the portal. You think he'll go to the draft, or you think he's kind of testing out the waters, see what they'll say?
I think he wants his evaluation. But, I mean, let's be honest. Even if people don't think he's an NBA prospect, he might still go because who knows? You draft Bronny, you might get LeBron. It might be a little 2-for-1 deal, and that might be really difficult for some teams to pass up.
I mean, if I'm an NBA team, do you want 40-year-old LeBron? I know he's putting up great numbers
Knicks,
right now.
Yes, yes, and yes. If I was the Knicks, I'd want LeBron James in about 5 minutes. So, yeah, there's still plenty of teams that could use 40-year-old LeBron James. Sign me up.
It's just a lot of money. That's the problem, I think.
It is. But maybe they would restructure it if it meant playing with his kid.
Who knows?
Actually, can you even restructure deals in the NBA like you can in the NFL?
Well, the good thing is his deal's up after this year.
So
Opt
yeah,
out.
Yeah, we'll see. But somebody said he might take $50 million to sign him, so we'll see. That's pretty
Yeah, I
interesting.
think he has a player option or a club option.
Okay. All right.
Last one for me. I know baseball season just started, so I'm more than excited about that.
Who's your team?
I'm a Yankees fan.
Well, then you should be excited. A lot of reasons to be excited.
Look, for one, Juan Soto is going to want everything that the Yankees own, and I don't know if it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot.
Enjoy the season. Don't worry about the future. Enjoy the season. You got him for this year. Have fun with the ride, and let's see where it takes. And if you win a world championship with Juan Soto, then we could talk about wanting all of New York in the offseason.
I hope so. Well, hopefully. But I'm not sure if you guys discussed this. I'm pretty sure you did. But what do you guys think about Oakland leaving to Sacramento? I know it's a hot topic. People are hating on it. I just feel for the city of Oakland because of all that they've given to the A's, all that the fans have done. I just feel bad. Like, I don't know. I think it's a bad move. It's a bad move by the MLB.
Look, they never got a new stadium built. That thing is archaic. It's been around since the 60s. That's problem number one. Problem number two, if you're Oakland and you know you're losing your team to Vegas in a couple of years, do you really want them for the next few years to stay there and play as basically a placeholder? It's kind of like, yeah, you're already on the way out, but you know what? We're just going to keep you and keep you around for a few more years. It sucks. I'm with you. It's a bad spot, but you got to let go. You can't keep them. You got to let Sacramento have them, and then they'll go to Vegas, and before you know it, we've got a baseball team in Vegas. So good job, Eric. Call us back. Good to hear from you. Wrapping up the hour. We got hour number 2 in a moment. We'll talk more sports, and Billy Towns will join us in studio as we continue. Let's talk. Welcome back, everybody. Along with Adrian Broadus, we've got Alberto Urueta. We've got Cade McConnell. Steve Kaplowitz with you. Soon to come, El Paso's own Billy Towns is going to be performing tomorrow night out at the State Line for the Summer Music Series. This is kind of a unique opportunity for us. Cade, Billy has brought in his Yamaha MM8 keyboard and an amp, and we are actually going to have a live performance from Billy during this hour of the show.
That's awesome. I haven't experienced anything like this in my time with being with the show. Have you guys? Is this not new to you?
We've done it once or twice before, but it's rare. Whenever we get musical performances in studio, it's a rarity. So this one's gonna be special.
Well, I love music. I love seeing talented people. I have tried to learn to play the guitar myself over the past couple of years, on and off. I'm not saying that I'm very good at it, but I do enjoy it, and my musical background is shallow, but it goes back very far. I actually, Steve,
First instrument you played?
First instrument, like everybody, the recorder in 4th grade, right?
Yeah.
But after that, in 6th and 7th grade, I was the tenor saxophone player for the band.
Nice.
In middle school, yes. And I loved it. It was great. I didn't continue it after that. It wasn't that I didn't like playing it. I just ended up doing other things, more sports and other electives in school and stuff. But that does not mean that my music appreciation diminished any. I love it.
What if Cade McConnell goes D1 in band instead of football?
Isn't that wild? You could be a saxophone player right now instead of a quarterback.
I would one of the things that if I could, if I could go back. My mom tried to put me in guitar lessons when I was really young, and that was I pushed her back against it. I didn't want to go and fought around. I'm talking really young, but I wish that I would have done that because I think it is so cool to be really good at an instrument and musically talented, and I wish that I was a whole lot better.
That's good. I think Billy just said quarterback for who. Billy has no idea that you spent the last half of last season quarterback in the minors at UTEP. So look at that. That's. There you go. I like
Billy.
this.
Yeah.
Billy's setting up shop. He's going to be joining us in a minute, and when I mentioned quarterback, he didn't know. So now he knows. Now he can match you with the face and be good to go.
Billy, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you again for the second time. And I'm Cade, and yes, I did play quarterback for UTEP last year.
You still do.
Correct.
Last I checked, that's still your position. You're still there.
Currently here, yes.
So yes. All right. And then we'll bring Billy up here in just a minute. In fact, Billy, you have a choice. If you want to just grab one of those microphones and bring it with you and do that, you could just sit down here and then come back to that later, whatever you want to do. Yeah, that's perfect. Let's see how that thing works, and we should be pretty good. El Paso's own Billy Towns is here, and he is going to be sitting in with us in hour number 2 of the show. First off, welcome back. How you been?
Thank you very much. Good to be back here on 600 ESPN Radio. Oh, God.
By the way,
Cade, that's right. Sorry, I had to get the name.
We're all good, Billy.
Yeah,
we're all good.
Good. And you do well, too, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Got superstars all around here, Steve.
Billy, if it makes you feel any better, Cade had no idea who you were until I told him about you when you walked into the studio. So you guys are even there. So it's good. By the way, if there was ever a time to download the 600 ESPN El Paso mobile app, it's now, because I feel like, and again, I love AM radio. I've been on AM radio my whole professional career, but this particular performance will not do it justice on AM radio. We must instead let you listen in on the app. Then you're in the studio with us, and when you listen to the musical performance from Billy Towns, it'll be that much crisper, that much cleaner, and that much better.
That's everything, right? You don't want to listen to music with not pure quality audio. I think everyone needs to be on the app right now. It's the way to go.
I agree.
Hell, everybody has got to be listening, man. This is the sports radio right here, and Steve knows how much I love sports. sports.
You do. Sports and music. That's your passion, right? And acting and theater and
film and everything.
Yes.
And yeah, it's great. But as you said, tomorrow we're going to have a lot of fun at the State Line Restaurant. At 7 o'clock, and it's going to be great.
You always do. You always have a lot of fun.
Steve has been watching me for almost 30 years, man.
That's
Him and his
wild.
wife. Yes, man. It's incredible, man. Big time supporter, man. Much appreciated.
It's fantastic, and that's true. He's dating us, but he's exactly right. It's exactly how long now? We've been 30. No, it's true. 30 years for us.
Yeah, it's been that long. Yeah.
How long for you performing?
Well, mom was a piano teacher, but performing professionally, I've been playing since I was 2. I had a gun to my head as soon as I came out. You got to play piano. But professionally, since I graduated from high school, so late 80s.
Okay.
From the Crunch Band all the way up until now.
Right. So you've got a few years on me, which means Billy's been playing professional for a long time. But you said sports fan. You love Tristan Newton with El Paso. It's a great story.
You know what? First of all, incredible story. Tristan Newton, fantastic. And I kind of followed him when he was here at Burgess, but kind of lost. And then all of a sudden, he's popping up at UConn. And everybody's remained, he played at Burgess and everything, and now look what he done. I mean,
I know.
I was saying earlier, and I might be being ahead of here, but we got to definitely honor that guy. That guy is one of the most incredible sports athletes that's come out of El Paso.
I'm interested to see what will happen when it's all said and done,
Yes.
and hopefully he's got a nice chance to play now in the NBA.
Yes. I want him to go to the Spurs. And those before you guys got me, the Spurs. Pops is a great coach. Look what he's doing for Wemby. They're getting better, and they need a point guard.
Yes.
They need a point guard. Tristan would be good, and they got like the second or third pick. And we don't need Zach Edey. We got our tall, big guy and everything. We don't need Zach Edey. We need a point guard. The Spurs, they need a point guard to really start throwing Wemby the ball, and they will start getting better and start getting up in their rankings, up in their quality, instead of at the bottom of the Western Conference. And they're getting better. But they need, obviously, to get some veterans and some really good players.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, the NBA game has changed. It's so much more of a European game right now. And when you look at a guy like Wemby, that's the future of the game. 7 feet plus, who can shoot from the outside and is not just an inside presence.
Yeah, he acts like a point guard. He can shoot. He can pass. He almost had a quadruple double the other day. He almost had one last night against the 76ers, or 2 nights ago. But he's one block away, I think, from a quadruple double.
It's crazy. It really is. So that's really the talent that he has. You watch a lot of NBA?
Love it. I can't wait for the Lakers and Golden State tonight. They play tonight without AD, Anthony Davis. And they're going to be probably I think with the 9 and 10 for the playoff, for the last play-in spot. They're going to be there. But if they get into the 8th spot, whoever's 1 and 2 better be wary, because of course they're going to turn into the Lakers and they're going to turn into the Warriors, and look what they did last year.
There you go. Cade mentioned a moment ago he was playing sax in middle school. You tell me, for the piano's always been your forte, but how many instruments do you play altogether?
I play officially. I will claim to play 2. I play the piano. If you can hear that, and then I played in high school thanks to Mr. Jimmy Olivas. He got me on drums, and I played drums in the marching band. And I love drums, and I still play, but I don't play like my drummer. Demetrius Williams, Eddie Provenza, those guys are like pros. But I played drums when I was in marching band, but officially percussion and chromatic instruments or piano.
You make it look so easy.
Oh well, I'm just playing.
Now,
I'm just playing. We're gonna have fun tomorrow, though. That's for sure.
By the way, you mentioned crunch.
Mm-hmm.
You've played a lot of different genres of music over the years, haven't you?
Oh yes. You saw me when we met. You saw me with the crunch. I was I think we were on the premier R&B bands back in the '90s, and everything. We had everybody dancing. We had so much fun with that band. And that was R&B, but of course I started, from high school playing jazz, traditional jazz, contemporary jazz, and now I'll be playing with like a rap R&B funk group called Riboflavor, and we're playing Saturday the 20th at Rosewood, and it's our 10-year reunion, and rap music and everything. They have keyboard, but we have a lot of fun. They have jazz rhythms behind rap, and then they get in with horns and everything. It's a lot of fun. So I do that. I've played in Tex-Mex bands, Tejano. I played with the great Ruben Gutierrez. He's an incredible salsa, Latin jazz pianist. So everything. And of course, I started playing classical. So I love it. I just love music. I love music. Right. I'm doing the music. I'm the musical director for Loretto's Theatrical of Greece. So we're playing 50s doo-wop music.
Nice.
So I like playing all styles. I respect all styles. And with my films, I try to influence all that with all the incidental music for my films that I do and everything. So I try to get into the whole range of everything. And you have to, especially in film.
Adrian, can we break the news on EPCC? What do you say?
Well, I was going to ask you, Billy, there's going to be courses coming up at EPCC that involve a lot of digital audio courses and some upcoming courses for EPCC that could even help you if you're trying to get into the business of music.
Oh, yes, we have. And we can thank you very much. We can now announce this in the fall. EPCC will be having you'll be able to go and get an associate's degree, a 2-year degree in audio engineering and music business. We'll be the only one within 500 miles, at least for now, teaching those courses and having a degree in that. And we're going to have some stellar staff, stellar instructors, and you'll be able to go and start learning the ins and outs of doing what you guys are doing here, audio engineering for studio, for radio, for TV, for film. And live, you can go there and you can engineer band live, and of course you'll be able to. For the other portion of degrees, you can go and get a 2-year degree on music business. You'll be able to get into venue management, get into artist management, get into record company marketing, get into music management, all that stuff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we are very excited to be offering these degree programs starting this fall, 2024 at EPCC.
And how many years in the making was this for you?
Almost 10. Thanks to the COVID, it should have been about 4 years ago, but COVID, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, but it's been a long time doing all this and doing the course development, getting everybody together, getting our advisors together, putting together the programs, looking at what other universities are doing, updating it for what we do here in El Paso, what's the need in El Paso. And you know what? We have a lot of interest, a lot of enthusiasm for these programs happening in the fall.
I love it. Get comfortable. I'm going to mic your amp up here in a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to play great. We're going to have some performance and give us a little sample, a little taste of what's to come tomorrow night.
No problem at all.
Billy Towns with us here, folks, as we continue on Sports Talk. More with Billy, more with Cade, more show as we continue right after Charlie 1 in this traffic update.
Especially when there was a song that song that we recorded, Trade Winds. I did that, and then I sent it to some guys in L.A. And the bass player used to play for Miles Davis and Anita Baker, Sekou Bunch, and he took it into another level. And I'm going, wow! I'm in L.A. going, you guys are incredible. And the drummer did the same thing too. So it's when you give it to musicians that really can play and know what they're doing. It's just like you said. I love doing this. I love creating music and watching these great musicians. And the ones I have tomorrow, I love watching them perform their music. I'm just a facilitator, to be quite honest. I just watch and everything. So
Billy Towns with us, folks. Again, performing tomorrow night out at the State Line for the Summer Music Series. He's giving us a little taste of what to enjoy. What do you have up next for us?
Here's one that I wrote for my mom back in the late 80s. This one's called Sun City at Night. The album came out back in 1991. We'll play a little bit of this.
Okay.
We played this one back in the 90s, so you probably remember this, Steve Kaplowitz.
I think so.
Sun City at night, dedicated to El Paso.
So good. So good.
It's awesome.
Billy, I'm wondering, as somebody that's been playing the piano as long as you have, do you almost have to play like every day for your hands just to keep everything?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone times where I haven't played for like 2 weeks, and trust me, I needed it because I played a lot, those 2 weeks before. But it just depends on musician to musician. But I like more or less keeping my hands warm and playing. As much as I could. Back in the day, I used to play every day, but now it's every couple of days because I'm so busy doing other things. Mm-hmm. But this doesn't remember. The mind keeps it on it and everything. As long as I'm gigging with all the great musicians here in El Paso and everything, it remembers. And then, of course, if there's something I need, we're having a rehearsal for Riboflavin for the show. I got to look at that music, so I get into practicing and all that. But I know once I immerse myself into my studio with my 6'3" Yamaha grand piano, I mean, this keyboard sounds cool, but I got the real thing, Stephen Cade. I got the real thing at home.
So this
I'll be there for a while.
So this is a travel keyboard.
This is an electronic keyboard. This is Yamaha. That's M08, right?
M8. Yes.
M8. The M8. So I got like, I'm a Yamaha guy. So and you can hear the piano sound. That emulates a piano. It does not replace the real thing, but it's good for stage, good for live. And then, of course, I can always change the sound if I want to go electric.
One of my favorite songs during your shows. That was the theme from Taxi.
That was the theme. That was Angela's theme from Taxi. We'll do that tomorrow too.
Yep.
And we're gonna do them all and everything. But I love this keyboard. And of course, with Riboflavin, we're playing at Rosewood Saturday, August 20th. I play. We play synthesizers. All right, enough of that. But this keyboard, this electronic keyboard, this is basically a computer made to look like a keyboard, and it's fun. That's why I take it on on the road and everything. But whenever there's a chance, like when I play at either Star City or some other venues, or when we go on the road, sometimes they have a grand piano, and everything. So of course I love playing that. You cannot replace the organic sound of a grand piano. Ever, so that's my favorite instrument, and then I just put, I play this at the side with it. So
when you went to the Hamptons, and I believe you played for Julie Andrews.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Did you bring a portable keyboard, or did they have one for you?
Yeah, they had one for me. Okay. The good thing about Guitar Center, they're everywhere. So they had they had what they call cartridge, and we had a keyboard very similar to this because she didn't have one there, but. That was so much fun.
Would you call that one of the highlights of your life?
Big time. I reminded her of the music director from Mary Poppins. She told me, because he was a jazz player and everything. So we played some stuff for her, and she just loved it. She was just, what is that, Billy? All that. I mean, I just had so much fun playing for her. We did it for about an hour and a half. Myself and Neff. That's how we both did a duet for her. Yeah. And I like to thank my sister Debbie for that. We just had a lot of fun playing for Julie Andrews. What a pleasure, and she signed her book and everything for me. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun being up there. Yeah,
super cool. We'll come back more with Billy as we continue. But first, let's get back to Adrian. He's got a bottom of the hour Sports Center update. Thank you very much. All right, Cade, you've been getting a chance to have a front row seat here for Billy and some of the songs he's played for us. What jumps out at you when you listen to him on that keyboard?
Oh, it's so awesome. Like I told you, I have an appreciation for music, and seeing somebody so talented just be able to come up here, talk with us, have a good time, and do what they love to do.
I'm just having fun, and you guys know this. I just like having fun. I'm going to have fun tomorrow. I'm going to have fun on Friday at Landry's, everything. I mean, I love playing here. And I like playing in El Paso. I mean, we had a lot of fun playing in L.A. but everybody asks, where are you from? I say, I'm from El Paso. And there's a lot of great musicians here, and we love playing here and everything. We just need more. We just need more of the support and everything. But we just have a lot of fun. The older I get, the more fun I have, Steve.
I love that, and that's a beautiful thing. By the way, if you ever had any quarterback questions, this is the time to. If you have anything in your mind, if you've ever wondered about the quarterback position,
it's big, man. And now, quarterback. UTEP is thrilled to have this guy, man. God, and you guys. I feel you guys are going to do great next year.
No, I'm very excited about what's going on. It's going to be very cool.
Did you do that thing with that Dak does?
Oh yeah. Actually, I actually fun fact: the thing that Dak does, he got that from his trainers, who are the same guys that I train with.
Really?
Back home. I'm from Southern California.
Awesome.
And those exact shout out to 3DQB who I train with. Those guys are the ones that kind of came up with that. And he had trained with them, and that's kind of where it came from. So
that'd be cool.
Same coaches. Yeah, it's cool.
One of these days, I'm gonna say, "Hey, can I go on the field and see you?" No, you don't have to.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, y'all gonna kick me off. I know that. So everything, but no, it's. I played more basketball. I played football when I was young, but I played on my college team basketball, and that's why I love basketball. Spurs are my team. Steve knows that, and we're last in the Western Conference. But you know what? They almost beat the 76ers the other night, Steve. They went to 2 overtimes. It took 2 overtimes for them to beat the Spurs. So the Spurs are coming along.
That's great. That's great, Billy. By the way, almost doesn't count in sports.
I know, but you know what? Next year, again, we need Tristan. We need 2-time national champion Tristan Newton.
Yes,
and that, and it's going to get better. But since we're on the NBA, it's going to be tough for Denver to repeat. It's going to be tough for Denver because they're coming from, and Denver, they're good. They got the MVP, but it's going to be tough. And Boston looks amazing.
They do. Adrian, what do you have for Billy?
Okay, I love the NBA, Billy, so I'll stick there. Wembanyama is probably the guy that you would start a franchise with if you had a fantasy draft right now. You mentioned point guard. That's a big need for the Spurs. Here's my pitch to you, Billy. If I was somebody who is running the Spurs, I'm going all in next year because you don't know how many years Pop has left as a head coach in the NBA, and Wemby is a phenom in this league. I'm going all in this offseason. What do you think about that?
Yes, I'm going all in. Because, you're right. They have to build around Wembanyama. He's going to advance faster than I think any rookie, if he hasn't already, right? And put all the pieces. He had some good Johnson, some other pieces around him.
Vassell, yeah.
Vassell, I think they need point guard help, and they know this. They say this. Go all in, get them. Try to get some veterans. Get some veterans. I thought they were going to get. From Murray from Atlanta. I thought he was going to come back, but I don't know. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it'll not. But go all in and really do whatever. Because I think Pops is like the coach in the NBA. But, of course, there's other great coaches. But Pops knows how to coach talent. And let's go on because you're right. How long do we have? How long do we have with Pops? Let's utilize them. Let's go all in and let's try to at least get into a play-in position for next year. They started gelling towards once Wembanyama figured out the NBA, he's dominating the NBA all the way up to the end. They almost beat Philadelphia, who's on the top of the Eastern Conference. So I think let's go all in on the Spurs and push it, get Pops there, and just see where the chips fall with that. In other words, turn out to be Oklahoma City.
I think Alberto's got a question for you next.
I'm gonna stray away from sports and go back a little bit to music. I know that a lot of musicians hate being put in this position, but I'm going to have to ask you, what's your favorite album of all time? If you could boil it down to just one, what would it be? Like for me personally, I'll give you mine to give you a buffer to think about. Yours is the live 1962, 1966 rare performances from the copyright collections. I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan. I think that would take that one. What would you take? One album to end them all. Which one would it be?
Besides mine? No, just kidding.
That's hilarious.
It's called This Is What I Said. But no, I know what you mean. Okay, somewhere Ruben Gutierrez is really laughing at me right now. I would say one of them being Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. That's like one of the jazz albums of all time. Kind of Blue. Because of just the way, the players on there did so well. On that and the way that they really ushered in that era of jazz. And the other one, I'm going to go a little bit more contemporary, but it's kind of old now. It came out in the early 90s. Bob James, David Sanborn, Double Vision. That's kind of obscure, but that song launched Maputo, which we will play tomorrow. Oops. That's Maputo, and it's a standard and a lot of good things, and it kind of ushered in the way contemporary jazz and really funky jazz is done, and that album's growing even more, and it's been sampled. Bob James has been sampled by so many rap artists, it's incredible. But those two albums, Kind of Blue, and Bob James, David Sanborn, Double Vision. Those are the two that stand out with me that I really like going back and listening to over and over again.
Cade, one album to end all albums. What is it?
Oh, that's tough for me. I don't even know if I can give you one, Steve. I know that my first favorite album ever was a country album by Florida Georgia Line, but that was because that's kind of what got me into country music. It's nostalgic for me. It always brings me back to a happy time, a happy place, but I don't know if that's exactly like my favorite, musical album of all time.
Yeah, I understand that. Anyone for you, Adrian?
Okay, this is awful. I hate this because I love albums. Since I'm on the spot, I'll just say Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Kendrick Lamar is great. Kendrick Lamar is great. Oh, and there's another one that I love listening to. Not really jazz or everything, but it's inspired a lot of us. I know it's inspired Steve. Michael Jackson, Thriller.
There you go.
Need I say more?
There's a great song on every
the
single
production
track.
on that, song, obviously the song, it's been over and over. The music is still fresh. It grooves. I like the production. Quincy Jones. I just saw that thing on Netflix with Quincy Jones. It's incredible. But it's 40 years old now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
I'll go Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Elton John.
Another good one, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, listen, Cade, I know you got to get out of here. It's great to have you back. We'll see you Thursday, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot more to talk about.
There will be. I'll see you guys Thursday. Thanks for having me on again.
You got it.
See you, Cade.
Good to see you.
When we come back, we'll get a chance to wrap up the hour with Billy. We'll find out if he's achieved everything on his bucket list, and if not, what's left. We'll do that in a moment. Sports Talk continues, 600 ESPN El Paso. Cade McConnell for the first couple hours of the show, and he was contributing, and now we are back. We've got Alberto here, Adrian here, and I'm with you for a little while longer here in our 6 o'clock hour, and then Adrian and Alberto will take you home the rest of the show as we get you up till 7 o'clock here on Sports Talk. 505-6009, that is our telephone number. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter and X. That is 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter and X. Getting a lot of good traction on the What-Ifs that was submitted earlier today on the site.
Yeah, I'm happy that some of these were some of the ones you and I talked about off air, so we're in the right place. But then again, I'm really happy that there are some that we missed and we did not talk about today that some of our listeners are reminding me of. The one that struck me right away, it's an obvious one. What if UTEP still had baseball?
Oh, my God. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? The possibilities could be endless if UTEP still had a college baseball team. That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to the Twitter poster or X poster who sent us this one. I don't have it in front of me, but they even commented all the great talent locally. Can you imagine if some of it stayed at UTEP and played for the UTEP baseball team if that was still around?
No. It's hard to imagine. And wondering, first off, here's the interesting thing. Remember when the Diablos moved to Cohen Stadium in 1990? UTEP played at Dudley Field. That was their home. So I wonder, maybe even after UTEP, even after the Chihuahuas moved, that ballpark was still open, and they had rugby in there and the Scorpions and other things, and they also played with El Paso. The soccer team was there as well for years. They might have kept playing UTEP baseball at Dudley Field in the 90s.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Until it became the Elephant exhibit, and they tore it down.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, maybe we're seeing games out there in central. It's like West Central El Paso. Yeah,
the Patriots were there too.
Patriots,
so, yeah.
Yes, yeah. That's a throwback. That's a big time throwback to Dudley Field.
It is. It really is. Listen, I love Dudley Field. Dudley Field was so much fun. I loved going to games. I was there for the final season as a bat boy for the Diablos. The year that they closed Dudley and opened Cohen. So remember it well. Remember going out and shagging balls in the outfield for BP and how much fun that was. And just loved that ballpark. Loved going out to Dudley Field. Just thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, it's a great what if if UTEP still had baseball, maybe Dudley Field's still around. Maybe we're still talking about that as a premier sports complex and kind of celebrating milestones in years that it's just in existence out there. So, yeah, maybe that's still the case.
I mean, they've given us good ideas, though. I'll say that. And we enjoy the idea about, UTEP and baseball. And I love this one from Matt Aguilar. What if UTEP had beaten Cincinnati in the Sweet 16 of the 92 NCAA tournament? Cincy ended up in the Final Four. Maybe UTEP could have ended up in the Final Four in 92.
Not to give a lot of things away here on this show, but you and I have talked a lot about what-if scenarios that involve runs to the national championship for UTEP basketball in particular. I think for UTEP basketball, there's a lot of what-ifs that you could come up with, and it's because of the storied history of this program.
Eric, the number 48, had a good one. He mentioned Gary Payton and Tim Hardaway in the backcourt nearly happened. What if it did happen? There's another what if. What if Gary Payton was recruited and ended up coming to UTEP and not Oregon State?
Yeah, I would say to the Tristan Newton point, there's an argument to the what-if point. If he comes to UTEP, maybe he is misused and maybe his potential is not reached to the fullest extent. There's been plenty of examples of guys in that era who came to UTEP and didn't reach their full potential. So maybe if you compare that to a Gary Payton, maybe his what-if meter, if Gary Payton actually comes here, UTEP goes on like a deep NCAA tournament run, in my opinion.
Let me tell you something. Most good players got the most out of their ability at UTEP. I'm just gonna tell you they didn't. Don Haskins didn't miss on too many players. If you had talent, he made you better. He just did. He made everybody better. So he took Tim Hardaway and turned him into an NBA Hall of Famer. Antonio Davis wasn't even a basketball player when he arrived. He was a swimmer, and he made him an NBA ball player. So a lot of examples of that. I'm telling you right now. Had Gary Payton been here, he wouldn't have been misused or underutilized. Chances are, Gary, I've talked to this. I think I've talked to Tim Hardaway about this and Greg Foster, and they both believe, in all sincerity, that UTEP would have won a national championship had Gary Payton been in that backcourt with Tim Hardaway and that team back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, I feel like with all the success that those teams already had, and you just add Gary Payton to that mix, I mean, Sal was texting me this one as well, just saying that, like, hey, this has got to be an ultimate what-if, like a bigger what-if over Tristan Newton. Gary Payton joining a UTEP basketball team that was already loaded, already had an excellent coaching staff, and already knew what it took to win at the highest levels of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, no, I think so too, and it does make for a very interesting what if. You could still contribute to us at 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter and X, or on the phones at 505-6009, or even on our mobile app. There are a lot of ways to be part of the show today, and look forward to getting started on these what ifs. I think it's going to be so much fun to really explore that.
Me too, man. I mean, we've listed some in the story that I think we're going to elaborate more on, but I do like the responses. I do like the what-if scenarios out there, and I think there are a lot of good ones that if you throw the other side of the what-if, it really changes maybe the course of El Paso sports history in some of these different categories or some of these different individual sports.
Yeah, I'm with you. Anyway, look, it's a good topic. It's going to be a fun topic, and all I can tell you is head out to 600ESPNElPaso.com to read our concept article on the what-ifs, and then you'll understand why we're going to dive deeper into our alternate sports reality involving El Paso history. That's going to be the fun part about it, and that's going to be what we're most excited about right now.
I think you and I have a lot of thoughts and topic starters, but I think we're going to be inspired based off some of the responses we get from some of the listeners and people on social media.
I mean, can you imagine if when Bob Stoll left for Missouri, what if UTEP had hired Andy Reid as his successor instead of David Lee?
That's one we did not talk about today. That's a great one.
I'm telling you, you could just come up with these on the fly, and you're like, the interesting alternate reality is, would his career have ever been the same after that? That's another thing to bring up, is that sometimes, There's a reason why things happen the way they do. If you become a head coach, don't succeed here, then you're out of a job. You might not have the same career trajectory as if you stuck around and had your current arc.
Who was the head coach at the time that Dirk Cutter was going to possibly join? Was it Kugler? Or am I getting the coaches wrong? I'm getting
Wasn't Dirk Cutter.
Okay, who is it was an Eagles coach.
Ken Flagel.
Okay,
Ken Flagel.
And he was going
so
to come
Ken
out.
was going to come back. He was part of that staff with Stoll. He was going to come back and be the defensive coordinator. And as he was in town for the press conference, UTEP gets a call, Flagel gets a call, that he was going to go and join, what's his name? Doug
Peterson.
Doug Peterson's staff out in Philadelphia. And instead of being the defensive coordinator at UTEP and helping out Kugler, he ends up going to Philly, and UTEP had nobody to become defensive coordinator.
Yeah, that's an ultimate what if too, because if you get an NFL mind like that to come into the mix, that's an ultimate what if.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely.
What if Chris Jans was a UTEP basketball coach?
Could have happened
at any time.
Jerome Tang. These are all possibilities that could have happened. You never know in the what if game. You just never know. But the truth is that since the Joe Golding era is still being written, it's kind of hard to speculate those what-ifs because we still don't even know how the Joe Golding era is going to officially play out when it's all said and done. Maybe he takes the team to the tournament. Maybe he parlays this job for a Power 5 position down the road and goes to a high major. You just don't know yet. There's still endless possibilities because we're living it. We're in the middle of it right now.
Yeah, and I feel like that, at least at that point, when that coaching cycle came around, there were really high-level candidates, including Joe Golding at the time on paper. I mean, like, those are just high-caliber options at the time. So it's interesting to play that what-if game. What if Bryson Williams had stayed that final season instead of going off to Texas Tech? What if Sule Boom came back for another year?
What if Rodney Terry doesn't leave after year 3 to go become an assistant at Texas?
Yeah. That would change a lot in college basketball.
And that's just basketball. That is just basketball. So many other things non-UTEP related could be talked about on this. Lots of possibilities, folks. Lots of possibilities.
What if KJ Lewis didn't leave Chapin his senior year to go to Duncanville?
Interesting. Well, all I know is this. I have, and here's another thing. Speaking of the what-ifs, remember this. In like the 50s, 60s, and 70s, El Paso was larger than Phoenix. What if El Paso was built out, filled with suburbs all the way around from here to Las Cruces, and all of a sudden El Paso is like is like Phoenix as opposed to Phoenix being Phoenix?
Yeah, now you're getting into the alternate reality.
That's
right?
the craziest what if of all. What if El Paso kept growing?
What if El Paso kept growing and was the Phoenix, or was really the premier city in the Southwest?
Exactly right. That's right. So many possibilities. I love it. It's gonna be a fun topic. And by the way, we're not just going UTEP, like I said. We're going all sports, all scenarios. So every possible suggestion, historically, as far back as you want to go, or recent, we'll take, and we'll include in this. And it'll be a fun read for us. We'll enjoy writing this, and all we do is we hope you enjoy reading it. That's it. Simple as that.
Yeah, there's so many different legendary icons to come to El Paso in sports that this topic just is really exciting, and it's going to be a lot of fun to speculate and play the what if game.
I think so too. All right, 14 past the hour as we continue here on Sports Talk. Alberto, is there any particular what if that really resonates with you that you thought that you've been thinking about since we started this?
I've got two. I've got two that I've kind of cooked up here, and one's already kind of, I think, been mentioned in the recent history here with just collegiate basketball. Is what if Dr. Diana Natalicio signs off on the contract and sends UTEP to the Mountain West?
Yeah, that would have been that's the ultimate. That'll be the ultimate what if that I'm sure we could really get into in a big way. That's a great one. What else you have?
My other one, and this was the only other one I got, is what if Tim Floyd doesn't go off on Steve Kaplowitz and quit midway through the season? What happens?
God, are you serious? You know what? You write that one. You can,
Oh my God.
you can have fun writing that one because I'm not touching that. That's good. That is good, though. Have
You gotta
fun.
get the timelines right there, too.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure you go on YouTube and you really make sure you've seen it all. Have you ever seen what happened?
No, I can't.
All right, well, listen, if you're going to do the research, you got to watch the whole thing.
How bad does it get on a scale from 1 to 10?
Go watch it. Go watch it. All I can tell you is this. We made up. We're good now.
That's right.
We reunited at the Don Haskins statue unveiling, and he presented me with something that was very personal and very nice. It was a nice gift. He didn't have to do that, and it meant a lot to him. Meant a lot to me when he gave it to me. It was very good, and all I can tell you is I'm happy that situation is finally in the past, and we've been able to move on. But yes, that's a great that'd be a great one to write about. That's just what I don't need to. That's just one of those I don't need to think about since we finally are now on good terms again. But thank you, Alberto. Thank you for bringing that up again.
I like the association. Yeah, he's going off against Steve in the press conference, and then he also quits midway through the season.
Yeah, that's one thing had nothing to do with the other, but that's funny. But I also like, and has never seen it. That's even better.
Yes, I agree with that too.
Yeah, Alberto, you got to if you're gonna talk about it, you got to see it at least and understand the context. All right, hey, speaking of Alberto, he is going to come back with Adrian. They're going to take you through the final 45 minutes. If you would like to weigh in on the show, 505-6009. That's our telephone number, 505-6009. Let's go to Charlie 1 for traffic, and then we'll be back with more in a moment. It's 600 ESPN El Paso.
In the El Paso Metroplex, it's getting a little bit better, but we're not out of the woods yet. I'm talking about I-10 West at Paisano, where we had a collision blocking 2 lanes back up all the way back to Hawkins. Now, they just cleared it off, but there's a lot of backlog of traffic here. It's going to take about maybe another 20, 30 minutes for all that traffic to clear out, to get back to normal. So, again, I-10 West right now from Hawkins all the way down to Paisano. It's going to be a rough drive until all the lanes clear out. That accident, I-10 East, struggling traffic there, just looky-loos going on. That traffic backing up to the downtown area, eastbound lanes. And then you're okay on the westbound until you get to that Mesa area, Red Road area where the construction starts. The traffic starts getting very slow at I-10 West at Red. Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Remcon, approaching 78 years in business. Thank you. Original family since 1946. Famous tortilla soup. That's Leo's Restaurant, 7520 Remcon, Charlie 1600, ESPN El Paso.
All right, welcome back. Sports Talk continues here. Along with Alberto Reta, I'm Adrian Broadus. Our telephone number, 915-505-6009, as we continue through the rest of the show here on a busy Tuesday afternoon. Special thanks again to our guests from earlier in the show, including Billy Towns and, of course, Cade McConnell. But now we're going to continue here with the rest of Sports Talk here on the show. Alberto, I want to jump into some NFL conversations because while all these sporting events are going on, we're talking about mostly live sporting events. There's, of course, the NFL that's kind of looming in the background right now. And there's a lot of, conversation now as the draft really approaches right here. There's a lot of people who believe that this is not only becoming a top 10 that can include 3 quarterbacks right now, and I'm talking about number 1 being Caleb Williams out of USC, number 2 maybe you talk about Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner out of LSU. Number 3, you put Drake May out of North Carolina, although some people would, draft evaluators would put May at number 2 versus number 3. But the point is, what I'm trying to tell you right now is there's a 4th quarterback who might be sneaking into that top 10 conversation, and it's J.J. McCarthy, the guy who helped lead Michigan to a national championship, a guy who it looks like he's far from being a polished quarterback, but you watch quarterbacks like Brock Purdy and you think maybe you could find success and lightning in a bottle with a quarterback like J.J. McCarthy. I'm just curious, in your opinion, how desperate do you think teams are going to be to get a quarterback like him? And I'm talking about teams like particularly the Minnesota Vikings, the Seattle Seahawks, the Tennessee Titans, teams that have question marks still at the quarterback position. Do you think J.J. McCarthy is warranted to jump up and move all the way up to number 4 or 5 to draft a quarterback right here?
Well, I think it's definitely something that GMs and teams have to consider, especially I personally think after the season that the Houston Texans have after drafting their boy C.J. Stroud. I think that now that the NFL is taking a pause and taking a look around and seeing that the Texans are now in the process of quote-unquote being all in, being committed to the Super Bowl run at the hands of their young quarterback, teams are starting to realize that essentially all teams are one special quarterback away from really competing, and the Minnesota Vikings think that they can be that team to come in, draft a quarterback, and then immediately hit the ground running and have large amounts of success. And with Justin Jefferson on the team, it's hard not to want a good quality quarterback. It's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, and I would think to myself, like, J.J. McCarthy would tell me, all right, this is a rebuild. This is like they're totally going to overhaul their program. Sam Darnold is kind of going to be the bridge quarterback to McCarthy, and maybe McCarthy starts sooner than most, as far as rookies go. But it's not necessarily a competitive year for the Vikings. You and I had this conversation off air when we were talking about just the Vikings and some of their support staff members. There's no question in your mind that the Vikings don't trade Justin Jefferson, which, by the way, Jefferson, I'd put number 1 in terms of best wide receivers in the NFL, and that is over Tyreek Hill. That is over like a lot of great wide receivers that you're going to see. A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase. Those are all guys who could be in that discussion. Cooper Kupp is in that conversation. Hopkins had the crown for a while, and now he's not the guy anymore. So, yeah, I would say this is going to be one of those things where you're going to have to evaluate Justin Jefferson as not only somebody that you build your team around, a cornerstone franchise piece, but do you think that Minnesota could look at him and see trade value and think, maybe it's time to explore a monster trade package to get a lot in return for somebody like Justin Jefferson? Or let me ask you, Alberto, if you're the GM, do you just hang up the phone knowing that it's Justin Jefferson and you might not have another Randy Moss in your wide receiver room at such a young age right here?
No, I think that I'd like to hear out what other GMs, see what they're offering for Justin Jefferson, see if they offer anything exuberant. I think it also has to do with the landing spot. Obviously, you would despise to see him go anywhere within your conference. That's completely out of the picture. But you know what? It's also, I think that a lot of this has to do with how much they believe in guys that they already have on their team, guys like Jordan Addison and guys like Neil Harry, who was a former Patriot. So guys like that, do you think you can trade your guy Justin Jefferson, go in the draft, get someone who might not be a wide receiver one, but can come in, make positive contributions to your team, and then can you squeeze something out of the Justin Jefferson trade that can yield you good results? It's all just about a what if, and I think that's what makes the GM position such a hard one.
Well, if you're telling me that the Vikings could get a couple firsts for Justin Jefferson, I'd at least entertain the phone call. I think there's a lot of contenders out there who should try to go all in, similar to what the Texans did, but maybe if they don't have a big payday on their quarterback payroll right now, or if they need a true number one receiver, maybe they go all in. And to the Vikings' perspective, are late round first round draft picks worth it to you? Because like you're saying, you're going to have to go late in the first round, essentially, if you're the Vikings in this scenario, if you deal out Jefferson, to go out and get a wide receiver to replace Jefferson, to kind of reset the table on your, your kind of contract timeline. I don't know if that necessarily makes sense. The part that would make this make sense is the Jordan Addison aspect of this, because if they truly have a gem out of the USC wide receiver in Jordan Addison with the Minnesota Vikings, then maybe you could explore options elsewhere and trade Justin Jefferson for a monster haul. Now, if you're a Vikings fan, you're listening to this, you're probably thinking, wait a second, why are you trying to deal the best player maybe in that division right there in Justin Jefferson? And that's a valid point. I mean, look, I think that we fall in love with it, just as media and sports fans, we fall in love with trade scenarios with all these superstar athletes, whether it's Justin Jefferson maybe pairing up again with Joe Burrow, his former quarterback at LSU with the Bengals, and making a push over there. That's a true contender. Maybe it's the Bills sending off something crazy like 3 first-rounders to replace Stephon Diggs. Well, you went from having probably the 15th best receiver in the league to now maybe the best receiver in the league in Justin Jefferson. You look at other teams across the league who are just hungry and kind of just want to be pushed over the top. I feel like Jefferson is that kind of player, but again, I would be curious to see if anybody would go out and try to give Minnesota at least a phone call, knowing that they might go through a rebuild this year. They're not necessarily that contender right away, and see if that's a possibility or if that's not necessarily a reality. 915-505-6009. Let's switch it up. Let's talk a little NBA here before we get to a break, and then we'll get back with our final countdown. Western Conference playoff picture. So much separates, or actually not a lot separates these teams right now. I feel like Phoenix right now at 46-32 has the 6th seed. If it's not going to be them, it's probably going to be the Pelicans out of New Orleans. But New Orleans at the 7, Sacramento at the 8th, Lakers with the 9th seed, and the Warriors at the 10th seed. Looks to be pretty much final. Now, the Lakers tonight are not going to have Anthony Davis. This was recently reported by Shams Charania of The Athletic. He's out for tonight's game against the Warriors. If they don't have LeBron, which, by the way, he didn't play in the previous game, if they don't have him, then they're definitely shorthanded at home against the Warriors. Not saying Golden State's been anything special lately, but they've still won 7 of their last 10. If you're the Lakers right now, you're looking at the 7th seed, you're looking at the 8th seed to try to make the play-in experience a little easier. I think that 5th seed is or the 6th seed, I should say, which is outside the play-in tournament, is pretty much out of the picture right now if you're the Lakers. But if you're Los Angeles, if you're LeBron, you're Anthony Davis, and you're LA, which is the team that you want to play here in the first round? It's not Denver, that's for sure. They look to be the 2nd seed out of the Western Conference, and that means if you're the 7th seed, Alberto, going into the playoffs, you're going to have to play the Nuggets in the first round. And if you're the Lakers, you definitely want to try to avoid Denver at all costs here in the first round. If you're the Lakers, maybe you're looking at OKC, maybe you're looking at the Timberwolves and thinking that matchup favors you a little bit better than what a Denver series would mean.
Yeah, hands down, no doubt about it. I think if I were a Lakers fan, I'd much rather face the number 1 Minnesota Timberwolves. That's just me personally.
How crazy is that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's insane to say, but when you have guys on your team like Nikola Jokic who are front runners for the MVP and putting up stellar performances day in, day out, and just producing on both sides of the ball, you just don't want to face that team. That team, they've already been to the chip. They know what it feels like to be in those contested games in the playoffs. This is the last team you want to see, especially as the team that the Lakers are. Like we said, AD's out today. You don't want to be in a playoff series against the Denver Nuggets where AD's not going to play a game or two.
Yeah.
That would be horrible. So I think that the Lakers want to stick with the easier teams. I don't even want to put them up against OKC because I think that young core would be trouble for the Lakers. I think that the Timberwolves, who, once again, sounds crazy, they're at the top of the league, I think they'd probably be the easier team to beat, the one that would crumble the quickest, in my opinion.
Yeah, Timberwolves without Cat. I mean, I think, all right, you got Anthony Edwards, who will go all out for that series. He's going to be probably the best player on both sides of the basketball in that series. And then your second and third best players are probably AD and LeBron in whatever order you want to put them in. But yeah, I would say that I'd still say if I was a Laker fan, I'm trying to play the Thunder in the first round because there's the inexperience right there. Yes, they have sensational young pieces, but you've yet to see it in a playoff series work. And I would take the inexperience right there over having to go up against maybe one of the next faces of the NBA and like Anthony Edwards, or having to take on the face of the NBA right now in Jokic. So that's kind of how I look at it right here. The playoff picture looks real interesting. Phoenix, I don't trust them whatsoever, Alberto. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this one right here. Can't stand watching this team. By the way, they just added Isaiah Thomas to this playoff push, or whatever you want to call it. They've won 7 of their last 10, so I can't knock them too much. But it's largely part because of Devin Booker, man. I love Booker. I actually like IT. I don't like Kevin Durant, and I don't like Bradley Beal on that team. Those two guys, whatever, if it's the excuses from KD or if it's the lack of actual durability, it's the durability issue that you're seeing from Bradley Beal, those are the factors right there that just kind of push me away from this Phoenix team right here. Do you like the IT addition? Do you take them seriously?
I don't like them to make I just can't see them making a deep postseason run, and I'll tell you why. They'll eventually have to play the Denver Nuggets, and Nurkic is just not enough to cover to get it done against Nikola Jokic. So yeah, I like what they did with the big three. They bring in Kevin Durant, they bring in Bradley Beal, they go all in. They even make an addition too to bring Grayson Allen, and it's just not been what Phoenix has wanted. I know that they were looking to have a lot more success. Look, Kevin Durant averaging 27 points a game. That's simply not enough for Phoenix Suns. So I don't expect them to do anything crazy this playoff series.
Yeah, man. I don't see it either.
Sitting just above 500.
I don't like any of their matchups or potential matchups, either whether it's any of the three we just reeled off, talking about Minnesota, Denver, or OKC. I don't like any of those potential matchups. So that brings me to the best matchup of round one, and this is including the Eastern Conference as well, which, by the way, I'm already looking forward to Knicks Cleveland round 2, part 2, whatever you want to call it, or Magic Pacers. I'm really looking to those series right there. Seriously, I love those two first round matchups, but the best first round matchup, undoubtedly, unquestionably, is the Clippers Mavericks. And it's setting up for another great matchup. And it's because of the rivalry that these two teams kind of have. And I love it. I love the scenarios on both sides. I mean, either team, right? You talk about a Mavs early exit. You talk about a Clippers early exit. That'd be insanely disappointing to either teams, especially the way that they've closed out the year. I'm talking about Dallas in particular. They're playing great as of late. They've won 9 of their last 10, 3 in a row. Clippers have also won 3 in a row, by the way. They're the best. I'm talking about Los Angeles and the Clippers. They are at their best when everybody's playing. It's no secret, of course. Kawhi's been Kawhi. Paul George is all NBA level. He's been one of the most impressive guys. James Harden started off a lot better than he's finishing off the season, although I'll say Harden playing 71 games is something I'll tip my hat off to. Zubac's down low. I'm not saying he's going to go toe-to-toe against Jokic, no doubt. I mean, he's going to be outmatched. But in this series against Dallas, I like him as the interior presence. And with Dallas, they've got the best player in the series. Simply put, Luka. He's going to go in as the best player in that series. And you might argue, Alberto, that the Clippers have the second, third, fourth best player after Luka in this series.
Yeah, they have a bunch of talent, and when it's not Luka doing damage against your team, guess what? It's Kyrie Irving, another phenomenal player, also doing damage. He currently averages 25 points a game, so yeah, it's kind of difficult to do stuff against the Dallas Mavericks. They got two good guys that if it ain't one of them, it's the other one. So yeah, I mean, I really want this Dallas Mavericks team to win a championship. I know that if for them and the Clippers this season, if it doesn't end in one, it would arguably. I think it's a disappointment, a massive disappointment, because you have a collection of so much talent on both sides. And really, just speaking broadly here, you have such a large collection of talent that if there isn't a significant amount of playoff wins, that kind of just nullifies your whole season. It was all for naught. You haven't been able to leave your mark on NBA playoffs like Luka Doncic wants. And look, on the other side, James Harden, you're missing a chip, man. That's going to be missing for forever. And if you don't get one, you're going to regret it for a very long time.
Well, I mean, it's also like Paul George is he's got a contract issue that comes up after this year. It's the Harden question mark too. You couple all of that with the fact that the Clippers are opening up a new arena. They got to sell jerseys. They've got to get more certainty moving forward. Kawhi is under contract. That's I guess a plus, but who's going to be around him in the future? And then on the flip side, just like you mentioned with Dallas, I think the clock is always going to tick when you have a top 5 player, regardless of the team. I would say this for Milwaukee. If the Bucks had some question marks, I'd say, is Giannis going to be happy over there? Is he necessarily 100% good with that team? And then I would say the same thing with that Luka situation. Is he 100% bought into the Mavs? Everybody just wants to pull up the Dirk comparisons and stuff like that. It's 2024. NBA's changed. Luka could be captivated by playing with another, star instead of staying longer in Dallas. You just don't know. I think things change so fast in the NBA. Happiness is prioritized at a high level, and right now Luka's winning. So if he continues to win, if they're able to push past and win a playoff series, I've got Mavs in that series right there. I think it'll be an exceptional first round matchup between Dallas and the Clippers. But I've got Dallas in that one, maybe in 6 or 7. It'll be tight, and it'll go back and forth. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. We'll talk about the East. We'll talk other storylines that we haven't hit, and we'll talk plenty more as we wind up the show. Stay with us. Sports Talk continues right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Final countdown here on the program as we continue along with Alberto Reta. I'm Adrian Broadus. Special thanks to Steve Kaplowitz and everybody who joined us here today. We'll be back in action tomorrow, 4 o'clock usual, 4 to 7. And then, hey, coming up later tonight, about an hour from now, Sal Montes, Tim Haggerty, they'll have all the coverage for El Paso Chihuahuas baseball. That's all coming up, 7:45 first pitch right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Checking out the NBA standings right now. We just talked about the West. Let's switch it over to the East. Going on right now, it's the Celtics versus the Bucks. It's the two heavyweights. Hey, what's up, Sal? It's the two teams who lead the East right here, and it's huge. This is a huge matchup right here. However, it hasn't been a great matchup because the Bucks are all over the Celtics in this one, 69-47. Sal Montes popping into the studio for a awesome Final Countdown cameo appearance. And so we're going to be roping him into the system. Sal, you got a chance to listen to a lot of the what-if scenarios. You and I talk a lot of what-ifs on Minor Talk.
Oh, man.
You know, there's we talk about way too many of these, Sal. And I'll just say that as far as the what-if scenario goes, I loved yours, the Gary Payton what-if. I thought that was an excellent one because I feel like Gary Payton probably holds a little bit more weight than a what-if scenario for Tristan Newton at UTEP.
Yeah, and I think you consider how far that team got with the players that they had, right?
Yeah.
Hardaway and so many others. I don't have the roster in front of me, but the argument all the time is, well, they already had a guard-heavy team, and it's like, well, what else are you going to – who else realistically that was a big could have gone to UTEP that would have gotten them over the top? And you can't tell me Coach Haskins didn't love guards.
Exactly.
They would have gone, they would have gone deeper in that tournament. Obviously, it's all fantasy and hypothetical, but, man, can you imagine a backcourt of Peyton and Hardaway? That would have been insane.
You're talking about maybe a historically great NCAA tournament team who could have just one of the best backcourts that we could have seen. So good stuff there, Sal. We were talking a lot of NBA right now before we brought you up. You know, the interesting part about the NBA right now is you're a Russ fan. You like Westbrook. You like the Clippers. We talked a lot about LA versus Dallas, a potential first-round matchup. Give me the case for the Clippers, because what's the other side to this? I picked the Mavs in this series. Do you feel like if you're just previewing a potential series between Dallas and Los Angeles, what do you feel about, or what do you think about that one right there?
So I think when it comes to the Clippers, the biggest question, and it could be said for a lot of teams, but I think no more than the Clippers, maybe, and also to the other LA team is the Lakers. One thing that hampers them more than anything starts with an H and ends with an H. It's health. It's literally that. Surprisingly, a lot of this, their big three, or big two, we should say, if you want to put in Harden and big three, they've been available for a majority of the season.
Kawhi's played 72 games.
And you look at last year, they were giving the Suns a run for their money. And Kawhi went out, and I don't even think PG was available for that series either.
You're right.
And you're relying on Westbrook, who's, let's be honest, not even in his prime anymore, far from it. And there was a little glimmer of hope, but they shut that window right down quickly. So I think if they're healthy, I do think they get the series. However, what they've struggled with are dynamic 1-2 duos. We saw it against AD and LeBron with the Lakers when the Clippers were way ahead of them in the standings. We've seen them struggle with a lot of 1-2 duos. So that's a ridiculously nasty duo, though, that Kyrie and Luka duo. When they're on, they're cooking with fish grease, man.
I didn't even think of this, Sal, until you just brought up Kyrie. We got we said a bit of a rivalry, but I didn't realize we got an extra layer of a rivalry. First time Kyrie takes on Russ and Harden in this scenario right here, where he's with the Mavs and now Russ and Harden are over with the Clippers. So that adds an extra layer. I mean, Luka and Kawhi, they already had more of a friendly competition, competitive rivalry, but now you add a real kind of a little bit of vitriol to both sides. That's interesting.
And similar styles in terms of ISO play. I mean, we all know Kyrie's a lot quicker than what Harden is, but you kind of break it down with Luka and James Harden. There's always been that comparison. Well, Luka's just a younger version of James Harden. He's the Euro step champion. Literally, he's from Europe, so you got to give him all the credit. But that's what I look forward to the most is some of those games could go down to the very last shot. Who's going to take that last shot if you're the Mavericks? Is it going to be Kyrie or is it going to be Luka? We've seen game winners from both, and then you put it with the Clippers. Who's going to get that last shot? I think we all know it should be Kawhi. There's no question, but you have James Harden on that team now, so guys may own in on Kawhi, and we'll see if that ball movement is still going to be alive. But if it comes down to a team, I like the Clippers more. But if it's going to be a duo that takes over, it's hard to deny the Mavericks.
Alberto, you were somebody who got a chance to weigh in on this discussion. Does Sal's case here for the Clippers change your thoughts?
I can't say it really does. I'm sorry, Sal. I really am. I still have I still don't think the Clippers are going to put it together this year, and I think if anything the Mavericks will. I'm just hoping that the Texan in them helps them out. But no, I think that the fire that Luka brings is just, it can outshine the Clippers' entire team, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Mavericks have a very, very solid player and franchise player, once in a lifetime player with Luka. And
right.
I mean, a lot of these stars that we see in the NBA kind of peak early and then fizzle out. But with Luka, the only thing that's mattering now is a deep playoff run. Again, we saw him do it early on in his career, but it was kind of too early for that. However, his style of play is suited for a very long career.
It is, man. It is. And if you're looking at teams to really challenge the Nuggets, I still feel like it's in the West. It's everybody versus the Nuggets. You maybe
Agreed.
put Dallas and even the Clippers, not to be fair to them. You put the Clippers in that conversation too because they got Zubats. And I don't say you can go toe-to-toe with Jokic, but at least he could be the body to go up against.
He could hold him to 33 points instead of 34.
There you go. That's right. Out of the East, Sal, quickly before we wrap things up, Boston is leading everybody. They got a 15-game lead over Milwaukee.
It's ugly.
Is it Boston versus everybody in the East, similar
Pretty
to
much.
what Denver is versus everybody in the West?
Yeah, I don't know who else I can say with confidence is going to surpass 50 wins. The only one is Boston, and they're at 62. Everybody else, 47 or less. Very ugly.
Yeah, it's Alberto, any other teams that you like out of the West that we might need to keep an eye on as maybe being a dark horse contender to come out of that conference?
Out of the West, I think.
I'm sorry, out of the East.
Out of the East? Oh, sorry. Out of the East, no, I think to me, or I don't know, I want to gamble on the Knicks. I really want to try to buy in on that Cinderella story. But no, I think the Celtics are going to handle business there. I think that they're still the team to beat, and they're the most stacked teams talent-wise, and there's a bunch of young guys out there. They can do a lot of special things. I think the Celtics, they're going to battle with Milwaukee, but I don't think Milwaukee has enough in the tank. We know with all that coaching change that they went through, I don't think they're going to be able to put it together.
Yeah, special thanks again to Sal Montes. Special thanks to Alberto Reta. We'll be back in action tomorrow, 4 o'clock right here on 600 ESPN El Paso.